Suzanne Scott, Texas State Director of the Nature Conservancy. Suzanne Scott joined the Nature Conservancy in Texas as the State Director in November 2020 after a 20-year career with the San Antonio River Authority, serving as its General Manager for 13 years. Collaborating closely with a talented staff of dedicated conservationists, scientists, multidisciplinary experts, she's focused on promoting resilience through the on-the-ground nature-based projects in rural and urban communities and along coast while supporting protection and restoration of connected and diverse habitats and ecosystems throughout Texas. She serves on numerous planning and stakeholder groups. Her topic today is going to be developing naturally, how native landscapes create resilient communities. Please welcome Suzanne Scott.
No, this is fine.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, good morning, everyone. It's great to be here. I really look forward to giving this presentation, and I am not our staff expert on a lot of the work that I will be talking about here today, but I will do my best if there are questions. If not, I will make sure that I can get our people on the ground to respond to any of your very technical questions that y'all may be able to ask. So we have a presentation here. I hope I can see that some of the formatting may not have translated exactly, but we'll get through it. So I'm glad to be here again. So the Nature Conservancy has been conserving lands and waters on which all life depends since 1964. We're celebrating our 60th year in Texas this year. So we're very excited about our history here of land protection and water protection throughout the state. We also manage 37 nature preserves and about 150 easements across Texas. And we've also done an incredible amount of work with the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department on protecting many of the iconic parks that we all know and love. And we've worked and we're very proud of the assists that we have done. But today I'm going to talk about some of the climate challenges that we have in the state, the conservation work that we're doing, what we're doing on our preserves to help advance biodiversity and protect native seed, and some of the things that we're doing with communities to hope and promote policies that advocate for nature-based solutions as we're growing. As y'all know, this state is growing very fast. So let's see, next slide. I have to point it back there. All right, maybe. I'm trying. There, okay. Uh-oh. All right. So I'm going to talk about some Texas-sized challenges that we're working on first. Our state's growing. This is not something that, all of us in Texas know that, and particularly if you've been here for a very long time. You can see in this slide that the Texas Triangle is growing the fastest. That's where those dark orange colors are. And that's where we're seeing much of our fragmentation in this Texas Triangle, which of course encompasses the 5 largest cities and is really now considered the fastest growing mega region in the United States of America. This is driving a widespread land conversion that you're seeing here, and is really affecting a lot of our native prairie and open space and ag lands. In this second graphic here, we're also leading in federally declared natural disasters that I know a lot of people probably don't realize that, but of course with all the flooding and that we see, the damage from wind, tornadoes, flooding, all kinds of natural disasters. I know we're all thinking of our friends and residents, Okay, in Florida and in all the states that have been affected recently by the terrible hurricanes. But again, the cost associated with these natural disasters is really becoming, thank you so much, is becoming a real challenge for our state. And then in this last slide, again, you can see here that we are continuing to see the effects of this. According to the state climatologist, by 2036, Texas communities are expected to experience as much as 50% more flooding, and the number of 100-degree days is expected to double. So this photo here, right here, is Hurricane Harvey in 2017 in the Houston area. Again, this just shows that the devastation that can happen from flooding. But we say nature is provides us a good opportunity to manage against some of these threats. So we feel this is an area that the Nature Conservancy has been working on very much, really to advance nature-based solutions. In other words, to tell our communities that nature isn't a nice to have, it's a need to have as we develop our state. And many of us know, of course, there are environmental benefits to nature-based solutions. They reduce flooding. It also helps reduce heat island effect. It improves air quality. It improves urban ecosystems, biodiversity, all the things that nature is, the environmental benefits of nature, and all of you know and appreciate this in the work that you do. The economic benefits, of course, nature can, as I've already stated, can bolster the community preparedness, our resilience to extreme weather events. And it can help also have our native populations, our ag communities, all of these other economic factors in our state bounce back more quickly from devastation. When the fires hit in the Panhandle not too long ago, we had been working with some of the ag producers up in that area, and we saw those that had been using more regenerative ag practices, rotational grazing, fire, other improved management techniques, their properties bounced back faster than those literally on the other side of the fence from one property that we were looking at with our colleagues at the Texas Agricultural Land Trust. That property on the other side of the fence didn't bounce back as fast as the ag producer who was using these more regenerative type practices. So again, that producer will be able to bounce back faster in its ag production than maybe someone that wasn't using those type of techniques. So again, it's just an example of the economic benefits of using nature to your advantage. And then of course in our mental health, our physical health, all the other important quality of life features that nature brings. This is just another example of nature has these stacked benefits, is what we always call it. Let's look at the whole range of benefits that come from nature. Again, saying that it is not just a nice to have, an aesthetically beautiful park. It also provides a function in our communities, both urban and rural. This is a video that the Nature Conservancy had put together that I felt was really applicable to this conversation here today. And I'll just start it, hopefully, if it works.
Once upon a time,
hopefully there is
a sea of prairies blanketed the Great Plains.
There is
prairie
sound,
plants
but I guess
great
I don't
travelers.
know, guys, if
Their
that
seeds
works.
could travel many miles as animals carried them throughout a seemingly endless expanse of habitat. Eventually, a seed would drop, and a plant would start its life in an entirely different location.
I'm sorry. Y'all can get
This
it if the
intermixing
sound
of
doesn't
seeds
come,
across the
but there
landscape
is sound.
created something of irreplaceable value to our prairies: genetic diversity.
It did work yesterday? Okay, let's see what happens. If not, I can skip it. But it's a really beautiful video just to kind of talk about, kind of in an easy to understand way. These are the kinds of things that we're putting together to get a broader population to understand the value of native seed, biodiversity benefits, all the other benefits that come. I'll see if they're going to get it. If not, we can move on. Okay, we'll see. I need some, Jeopardy music, something. I can do a dance. We can talk. It is on our website. Yes, it is. So, I'm sorry?
Today, the seeds of wildflowers
Of
and
course,
grasses
absolutely.
cannot travel like they
Anything
used
on
to.
our website, you're
Our
more than welcome to
prairies
use
exist
anytime.
as-
So, okay, well, maybe we'll just go move on. Sorry, it's a great video. Please go to the website and you can use it anytime. So moving on, technology, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So we're all here. We've been here before, all of us, I'm sure. So at the Nature Conservancy, land protection is our bread and butter, as I mentioned when I started. We just celebrated our millionth acre milestone this last year. In addition to the 60th anniversary, thank you, our millionth acre milestone is something that we're extremely proud of, and we're already on. This has been a great year so far in 2024 with conservation easements. And as y'all know, the federal government has put a lot of money into programs that the NRCS and some of our other partners have for conservation easements. And we have been trying to pull as much of that money into Texas as possible. And it's not just the Nature Conservancy. There are an incredible amount of land trusts in Texas that we partner with a lot. And they are getting good money filtered into the hill country environments, to West Texas, to our coastal environments, all to promote conservation easements and trying to protect lands across Texas. So we are engaged in that, but so many other partners are, and it's been these federal dollars that have come down have been really very important to land conservation here in Texas. And the last sort of tranche of that money is coming out now. We should be hearing soon about new awards for different big, they call them RCPPs, Regional Conservation Protection Programs, and these big, $20 million grants are given to focus in particular areas. Some are larger than that. Some have been $75 million to focus in different landscapes of protection. So we're hoping we have one that we just put in for the Devils and the Pecos River areas to do some more conservation easements along those very important rivers. But anyway, so we do a lot of land protection, and we have, I'm going to go through kind of 6 of our preserves where we have specifically are collecting seed and putting it out into work in various communities, just so that you can get an idea of the type of work that we're doing on the ground. It's one thing to talk about it, it's another thing to do it. So I know that y'all are action-oriented, so I wanted to be able to reflect that with you here today. Our staff does a lot of this work, but we also have an incredible group of volunteers at many of these preserves that help collect the seed, help our staff, inventory the seed, make sure that we have the availability of this seed to do the projects that I'm going to talk about here. Okay. So first we're going to talk about Clymer Meadow Preserve. In the past 2 years, plant material from the Clymer Meadow Preserve was used on 2 important community conservation projects in the area near Dallas, Texas. One is the Judge Charles Road Park in Dallas. It's a developing city park that we did with our friends at Trust for Public Lands. They had been working with that community on a new park, and we wanted to make sure that there was a remnant native prairie adjacent to this park, so we wanted to make sure that we could continue to protect it and restore it, but we also added over 100 plugs of plants that were grown at Clymer, and we took over 25 pounds of seed material with community members and dispersed it throughout the park, and that park is supposed to be opening in spring of 2025. We also put about 15 acres of restoration at a Park Hill Prairie Park. This is in Collin County, and it's the home of 52 acres of a remnant prairie and about 50 acres of restored prairie. So our seeding efforts here was focused on the existing restoration area, and the goal was to increase species diversity overall and the native plant density there at that site. This year, we're going to add another 150 acres to the park from Clymer Meadow Preserve material that will be placed there again, just to continue to advance the restoration in that area. So the key species here are the Topeka purple coneflower and the rough stem rosinweed sunflower, and then the eastern gamma grass. Those are the key species that we have there. So next, I'm sorry, guys. Smiley woodfin, well, used to be called the Smiley Woodfin Prairie. We're now calling it the Smiley Meadow Preserve. And I don't know how many of you were familiar with what's happening here, but this is our newest preserve. And there's a little bit of background I wanted to give to you on this. We have been involved. We have a tridents prairie that's very close to this site. This particular site has been privately owned for a very long time, and we, Nature Conservancy and others, have been trying to get a conservation easement on this prairie remnant for a very long time. It's near Paris, Texas, if y'all are familiar with this area. And it is on a corridor for a new corridor for solar energy transmission line. So it was making this piece of property very attractive for the development of solar transmission into power producers in the Metroplex area. So we knew that this was happening, and the owner of the property was, looking to monetize the property for whatever purpose they could. And a lot of the community was very concerned about what that would mean to this very important prairie that had been in this location for a very long time. So we just coincidentally had been working with Ørsted, which is a major developer of solar power, and they're an international company. We were working with them in other places to try to figure out when they're starting to site solar, how can they do it in a much more environmentally friendly way. And we learned they had actually acquired this property from this owner and they were gonna put solar on the entire prairie. We found out, and luckily, because we had a relationship with them, we opened discussions about donating a portion of the Smiley Woodfin Prairie to the Texas chapter. They could not give it all to us because, again, they already had contracts that they were doing. So we had to figure out how to have them be successful with their business model, but also protect this very important prairie. So long and short, after a lot of conversations and them understanding what they're doing, they donated roughly 1,000 acres of the prairie to us that is called the Smiley Meadow Preserve, and they did that in 2024. They actually ended up, instead of leasing the property from the owner, they had bought all of the they changed it to an ownership. They bought the whole thing and then donated the almost 1,000 acres to us so that we could protect this very important place. So I know it's not a complete save, but in these cases, every little bit counts. And so we tried to do the best that we could. So now we are collaborating with them. We're in the areas where they are gonna have solar. We're gonna use the seed to restore the areas where we can, and how they're placing the solar array on that particular location. So we're very proud of this, and these are the kinds of things that we're going to continue to do as the community continues to grow, and these landowners are trying to make these tough decisions about how to monetize their land. As y'all know, ag production is not sometimes doesn't pay the bills. People can be very land rich and cash poor, and we have to work with them to see how we can monetize and promote these livelihoods so that people stay on the land and working lands stay working in whatever way we can possibly do that. So the key species here at the Smiley Meadow are the Sylvanus dropseed. I hope I said that right. Sylvius, thank you. See, I don't know. Thank you, expert. And then the prairie blazing star and the Long's pike trident. Those are the key species there. Then in our coastal preserves, we have Texas City, Nash, Mad Island, Marsh Site. These coastal preserves had contributed to a number of restoration projects, including in recent years restoring Memorial Park's iconic land bridge in the Houston area. We took 40 acres of restored coastal prairie has been added on that land bridge in the heart of Houston, and the seeds came from these coastal preserves of ours. We worked with the Conservancy there at Memorial Park. There's over 20 species of native plants that came from our coastal preserves that came into Memorial Park. Then we also did a 3-acre pocket prairie pilot project on Rice University campus. I was there just this last week for a board meeting, and it looks really nice. And then these projects were really, again, we're doing even more of these kinds of things, working with restoration on other locations there. So the key species at these are the brown seed paspalum, see? Y'all are the experts. The rattlesnake master and the I think it's called world milkweed. Is that right? World? Okay. Thank y'all. See, y'all could do this presentation. I told you I'm not an expert on plants. I wish I were. But those are the key species that we've used at those locations. Okay. Oh, gosh. Sorry, guys. Southmost Preserve is the last one that I wanted to highlight. This is down in the southernmost preserve. We actually have part of the border wall that runs through this particular preserve. We have 1,000 acres Southmost Preserve. It's situated in one of the most biodiverse areas of the nation and is home to 2 remaining large stands of native Mexican sable palm. And there's a very active thorn forest, a really important intact thorn forest down at the Southmost Preserve. So what we do there is we have a thriving native seedling nursery that focuses on producing native plant species for area restoration projects. The nursery produces as many as 40,000 seedlings each year for restoration efforts, representing more than 30 native species. We've just recently partnered with we got a grant with the American Forest and local nonprofits, and we're going to be taking these seedlings and restoring a thorn scrub forest in the Rio Grande Valley. We are going to be delivering over 46,000 seedlings to advance the project this month. So again, a lot of active work at our Southmost Preserve. So these species are ebony, snake eyes, elbow bush, and the Mexican sable palm. Those are the primary species down in this area. So some other work that we're doing. We did a study in the Dallas area to talk about green infrastructure and the value of using nature for flood resilience and managing floodwaters, stormwaters in an urban environment. As all of you know, if you use nature-based solutions, it sort of slows the water down, spreads it out, soaks it in. So that's the concept here. And we did this in a Dallas study and found that using nature can enhance flood management in the Dallas area and cost 77% less than just traditional gray infrastructure. So that was, and we're using this now to implement resolutions in the Dallas area. They just passed a bond, and they're going to take this information, and they're asking now that their consultant teams have to have expertise in nature-based solutions as part of their qualifications, and to try to look at there are several different certifications that civil engineers can look at. Many of us are very familiar with LEED certification, sort of the vertical certification. There are sustainable sites, and Envision are two more horizontal-based processes of certification that different projects can get different certifications based on how green they are from a horizontal perspective. So we're working with the city of Dallas to advance that. Then in the Houston area, we did a massive work on heat island mapping throughout communities in the Houston area, and now have identified areas where we can put trees in to mitigate heat island. And one of the areas that we're working on there is in the Gulfton neighborhood, if any of y'all are from the Houston area. Doing a lot of work there, did a whole community planning process of how to integrate nature into places of, bus stops and sidewalks so people kids and parents can get kids to school with more shade and stormwater mitigation, et cetera. Because that's kind of a area of town that doesn't have as much trees. A lot of people think of Houston as a very forested, more heavy tree canopy, but not in some of these more densely urban environments. And then in the coast, we're doing a wetland mapping project where we are looking at as climate change is happening and a lot of our wetlands are migrating, we're working with adjacent landowners to try to identify where those wetlands are going to naturally migrate into properties and trying to protect those properties so that there will be places where these very important wetlands can continue to migrate as climate change changes the landscape in our coastal environments. And then, of course, as I've mentioned, we were doing a lot of work with working lands, do an incredible amount of prescribed fire, not with a lot of our conservation easement holders, but other property owners that are interested in fire. We work with them, bring grants to the table to ensure that we can help to advocate for improved management practices. We also are bringing seed into some of these areas as they welcome that to restore native prairies or grasslands on properties that maybe the owners have now taken over and they really want to start to use more regenerative type practices. So we're helping them there as well. We're also doing a lot of advocacy for nature-based solutions. This is a picture of one of my staff members in the Austin area. The Commissioner's Court of Travis County passed a resolution. Again, they just recently did a bond, and they are making it mandatory that the professional consultants that will be put together for the road projects and the other infrastructure projects have expertise in nature-based solutions and understand how to design them so that at least it can compete against designs that would be the more traditional type of designs, and using nature as much as we can in these growing urban areas, and making sure that money can, again, the theme around nature is a need to have, not just a nice to have. And then that's the Travis County resolution that we've just passed. And then lastly, these are just some examples of how we're looking at nature as infrastructure. I mean, we've sort of gone from the more rural areas that I've talked to you about in some of the restoration, and then as we move into more urban areas. So again, there are urban neighborhoods, and these are just illustrations of different techniques that can be used, using bioswales and green roofs and, incorporating nature wherever you can as development is happening. And then in the coastal areas, stabilizing shorelines and reducing erosion. We're also doing a lot of oyster reef restoration in our coastal environments. Again, another nature-based solution. And then just on a watershed basis, really just trying to look more holistically at kind of building that upstream-downstream relationship between managing watersheds more holistically to try to keep intact the function of floodplains in our communities. So just want to leave you with what you can do. I mean, all of you are doing such great work because y'all are experts in native plants, and y'all are our greatest advocates out there to tell people the value of putting native plants on their own, sort of yard as well as on larger scales. So we just encourage and promote and are just honored to be here today to really say thank you to all of you for being advocates for native plants and how that is so important to the future of our state. We just encourage you to continue to talk about nature as a very important component of how we develop in the state of Texas. If you can go to your local city councils or talk to your commissioners about how to ensure that as infrastructure investments are being made, that nature is incorporated in it in all aspects. Parks are wonderful. We love parks, but we also want to make sure that the beauty and value, that all the stacked benefits of nature kind of comes out into all of what we do between stormwater and floodplain management and all the other water quality improvements, all of those things. If we can incorporate all of those messages, that's what we really want. And y'all are experts and can talk about this in a very educated way with your communities. And then just, encourage your neighborhood, at your local level, and talk to your neighbors about the value of nature and how they can do things on their own property to ensure that they are taking care of native plants, drought-tolerant plants, plants that can ensure that the native seed within the neighborhood can continue to be there, also for pollinators and all the other benefits that come with native plants. So just continuing to encourage that kind of activity at your local level would be very helpful. So we have lots of different resources on our website, that video, some other things that we've done. We did a great, as part of our Million Acre Milestone, we did a whole thing with Texas Monthly about advocating for nature, and we put Nature to Work is a column that's on the Texas Monthly digital site. So thank you all very much, and I don't know, I think I'm okay with time, but if y'all have any questions. You think is it gonna work, you think? He says we may have that video, so I'll see if there's any questions. If not, we can try to run the video. Yes, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Yes, that coastal area, I mean, that whole area is continuing to grow. And I think as we're seeing the fragmentation is happening everywhere. And I think that particular site, that particular study came from the A&M Texas Natural Resource Institute.
Once upon a
Roel
time,
Lopez, I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he and his team have done a lot of this study, and they're the ones that are tracking this fragmentation that's happening throughout the state. But you're right, we continue to talk about the triangle, but we can't forget that it's happening everywhere. And the fragmentation of our land and the population growth of the state of Texas is really everywhere now, because people are moving here at a very fast pace to Texas. Yes, ma'am. Yes, so green. Okay, I'm sorry, thank you. She's asking about the Dallas study where we used the acronym GSI, which stands for, hold on. Green stormwater infrastructure. I have the acronym in my head. So green stormwater infrastructure, what that is a technique that is used in more urban areas to try to incorporate green, nature, green infrastructure into the planning. And the parking, she asked specifically about parking lots, for example. So if you go to a Walmart, I mean, you can notice this, if you go to a Walmart or H-E-B parking lot or whatever, the way that they typically deal with the runoff that happens in the parking lot is they just direct that all that stormwater directly to an inlet, ultimately to an outfall, then it goes to the creeks. At least in San Antonio, that's the way it works. So what we want to do is try to encourage these developers to have an intermediary nature-based solution, such as a bioswale or a rain garden of some sort, or even curb cuts around the trees that are planted in the middle of these. Oftentimes you'll see these trees that are planted in the middle of these parking lots, but they have a curb all the way around them. There's no way for the water from the parking lot to go into that area when it rains. So we're trying to use the topography and try, when they start to plan these from the very beginning, plan these so that the water that has all the pollutants from every car that's been parked in that parking lot for months between rain events, that can be filtered as it goes through a natural bioswale of some sort that has good soils, that has good drainage so that it can percolate, it can slow down, it slows it down, it spreads it out, it filters the pollutants before then it is discharged into an outfall system. So that kind of technique, a lot of people don't do it because they feel like it adds to the maintenance cost. It's non-traditional. In some cities, it adds to the permit times for local officials or local public works directors or staff to look at them and permit it. But those are the kinds of things we need to change. If we keep doing what we've always done, we're going to get what we always got, right? I mean, that's the whole thing. But if you change it and you do it more frequently, then people will have more talent, they'll have more expertise, they'll know exactly how to do this, and it won't be more expensive, and it won't make it such a novelty. We need to see these things everywhere, because the more we do it, the better it'll get, and the better everyone that implements it, the engineers, the maintenance people, the site planners, they'll get better at it. But we have to start. That's the idea. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yes. You know, I think that, yes, we are desperately trying to work with TxDOT. We are trying to get spec'd into their, so it all is about the specifications that go into the projects that they put together, so that the contractors, the consultants that they hire have to follow their specs. So if the specs say native plant seeds, incorporate grasses, improve your soils, all the other things that have to happen in order for that to function, if it's in the specifications, then that TxDOT identifies for their projects, then the consultants have to look at that in their pricing and in their designs. So we're really working with that. I know y'all know the big group here, Native Seeds, that's great company that we've worked with, and I think they have also worked with TxDOT to try to get those native seeds spec'd. The challenge is, there are all different species in all different landscapes, that some work here, some work other places. So again, the specs have to be based on the ecoregion, because it's not one size fits all, as you know. So we have to be careful about how to do this, because inevitably if we do it and then it fails, then people are gonna say, you see, you tried that native stuff, it didn't work, we're gonna go back to what we did before. So, again, it's a learning process that we all have to go through, but it does take, making sure that the specs are associated with where the projects are gonna be located. Yes, ma'am. Yes, so we have, I just spoke at the Devil's River Gala this week, and we have, I think all the conservation easements in that watershed are total something like 148,000 acres. We at TNC hold about 126,000 acres in conservation easements along the Devils. And that's where we put in an application for one of those RCPPs to try to bring money for more conservation easements in that area. We've added staff we do a lot of water quality monitoring and the groundwater, surface water interaction between the springs that feed the devils. So we're doing a lot of science to protect the water quality. It's a pristine stream, and we want to make sure, I mean, it's one of the last of our very important ecosystems in that West Texas area. So we're doing a lot of the water quality. We're working with landowners on improved management techniques so that, again, they can know how they're managing the land and what the runoff and how they're dealing with the inputs like their fertilizers and all the other things they're putting on the land, how to work with them to make sure that they're not contributing to any kind of threats into the river. We also are working with Texas Parks and Wildlife. There's going to be a new unit of a paddling trail and park that's open on the Devils. So we're looking at trying to manage. It's a very popular destination. More and more people are coming and paddling on the Devils. And that comes with good things and bad things, right? It comes with good things to try to have these people be advocates to protect this river and why we need to protect it, and building that, those friends of the Devils. But it also comes with those people that are not as protective and are more there just for their enjoyment, but not necessarily understanding that they've got to protect this resource. And then on the situation with the wind and solar potential, we've been fighting that along. Devils River Conservancy has taken the lead on that, but we've participated, talked to John Cornyn and others about why this is an important area to protect. We also are trying to, the Nature Conservancy on our website, we have it's called Site Renewables Right. So we're trying to encourage the siting of renewables, but in the right places. So we've done databases of where there's native prairie, where there are migratory paths, what's happening out on the landscape, where there are important water features that need to be protected, and working with power producers to say, why don't you locate over here rather than, over here. So we did a big study in Respect Big Bend to try to encourage, again, voluntarily, people locating these solar and wind arrays in places that maybe on lands that are more degraded versus pristine view sheds and lands. It's hard because the development goes where the transmission lines are, and sometimes those transmission lines run through some of our most pristine areas. So it's a challenge. One more question. Yes. Yes.
Right. Okay. We have an example of a bioretention basin here in New Braunfels at the Aquatic Center in our parking lot that was redone in 2022. And we had, it was a combination of TCEQ designing it and EAHCP, I think I have that correct, yes. Getting us a grant,
yes.
And the City Parks Department, and it filters, there's a bioswale, it filters all the impervious water into the area, percolates it down, and discharges the cleaner water into our stormwater drain.
Well, congratulations. That's awesome. I'm glad that y'all were able to do that. That's exactly the kind of example that we need for people to see over and over and over again, know that it works, that it's attractive, and that it can be done in other places. We're going to try the video, and then I think we'll... No pressure, tech. It's kind of towards the beginning. There it is. Let's try it.
Once upon a time, when a sea of prairies blanketed the Great Plains,
I can hear it.
Prairie plants were great travelers. Their seeds could travel many miles as animals carried them throughout a seemingly endless expanse of habitat. Eventually, a seed would drop, and a plant would start its life in an entirely different location. This intermixing of seeds across the landscape created something of irreplaceable value to our prairies: genetic diversity. Today, the seeds of wildflowers and grasses cannot travel like they used to. Our prairies exist as isolated islands of nature within a sea of farms, neighborhoods, and communities. Grasslands are the most threatened and least protected habitat on Earth, and what remains is highly fragmented. This fragmentation is making natural seed dispersal nearly impossible and causing our prairies to lose natural genetic diversity. So what can we do? We can be the ones who disperse the seeds. We can be promoters of diversity and protectors of prairies. We can plant prairie restorations with seeds sourced from multiple sites. Our job is to make tools and resources available for restoration practitioners who are planting and restoring prairies to create seed mixes that promote diverse, healthy, and climate-resilient prairies. In the face of a changing climate and in absence of connectivity, genetic diversity is nature's best defense. Every prairie plant exists within its own range. If we bring the genetics of the same plant from more southerly portions of its range north, our prairie restorations will be more tolerant of warmer temperatures. Or maybe certain genetics promote drought tolerance or tolerance to wetter conditions. A changing climate can bring about rapid changes and conditions that our fragmented prairies cannot handle without strong genetic diversity. It is this mixing of seeds from multiple sites that will help create genetic diversity in our prairie restorations. In North America, only a small fraction of our once dominant prairie communities remain. So restoration must occur. When we plant prairies, we must do so with climate resilience in mind. If we do that, we will ensure that our prairies exist long into the future. Learn more about climate-resilient prairies. Visit nature.org/prairiedna.
That was a grand send-off. Thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you so much. Thank you all very much.
Appreciate that.